Good evening, everyone. I think we're ready to go. This is Mayor Harmon. All right, thank you, Teresa. This is Mayor Harmon. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the City Council to order and state that all council members are present via teleconferencing. I'd like to ask Vice Mayor Stewart to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, and ask the City Attorney to please report out on closed session.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The council did meet in closed session on two matters of anticipated litigation. One is a litigation threat involving allegations of property damage and constitutional rights violation asserted by California Rural Legal Assistance, the Public Interest Law Project, and attorney Babak Nafisi. The letter, including that litigation threat, is on file and publicly available with the city clerk. We also had a litigation threat similarly documented and on file with the city clerk from Madsen Properties related to the council's allocation of costs for a sidewalk replacement project that was recently approved. And the details of that, again, are on file. There was no reportable action taken. It was litigation direction and settlement strategy only. And those were the only matters council discussed.
Thank you so much, and thank you to the public for your patience while we took some extra time to discuss those important issues. And now I'd like to ask the city manager to please present the city manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. So good evening. A few items I want to report about tonight. First off is that I just want to prepare both the council and the community that on July 6th, the city will be hosting its first in-person city council meeting since the start of COVID-19 back in March of 2020. Starting with the July 6th meeting, the city will no longer use Zoom to host the city council meetings. And however, there'll still be options for remote viewing. Since we went into the pandemic and into various different days of shutdown, we have revamped our ways for people to participate online and remotely. First, I just want to say you can submit public comments to the City Council through the city's email portal. You can provide voice messages, video messages, written correspondence, and emails. And we have an active YouTube page, which is high definition, high audio, in which you can participate. If you want to provide real-time public comments, you'll need to come down to City Hall, and we're waiting for the governor's final decision on June 17th, exactly what will be required for those attending the City Council meeting. Likely it will be if you're vaccinated, no mask requires. If you're unvaccinated, masks will be required, but we're awaiting that final details. And this is really real time that we've been following both the California Department of Public Health and others about what will be the requirements for businesses in our community. The second item is the county is wrapping up its mass vaccination clinics. And so that completed their final day on June 4th. In total, the sites provided 162,000 vaccines to over 87,000 people. And the county is going to continue to provide no-cost vaccinations, at public health, at public health clinics in San Luis Obispo, Paso Robles, Grover Beach, and mobile clinics countywide. We're currently out with our outdoor dining slow survey for Open Slow. And this is to help us prepare for the council study session that we have on July 20th to discuss the outdoor dining and other changes that we made downtown. The survey closes at 5 o'clock on Thursday, June 17th. And for more information, you can always email us at insight@slowcity.org. We also are looking at our summer cleanup program. That's June 21st to 25th. And this is the annual event we have with Slow Garbage Company to pick up additional items for regularly scheduled trash and recycling day. This did not happen last year because of the pandemic, and built into the trash rates at no extra charge, people may leave at their curbside items up to 6 cans, 32 gallons each, or you can bundle items no longer than 4 feet and heavier than 50 pounds. Big bulky items can be picked up for a small fee and scheduled at least 5 days in advance. So if you want more information about that program, you pay for it as part of your trash rates. You can go to sanluisgarbage.com. The next item is, and we'll be talking a lot about water tonight. We have 2 items on our regular agenda. The city did finalize and published our annual water quality report. It's great reading. I hope everyone takes an opportunity to read it. It is the way that we're transparent and to the community. And the report shows that there were zero violations of health regulations. And so huge kudos to our utilities team. They've made a lot of progress with the council's leadership in making some investments in our water treatment facilities to allow us to treat our water with ozone rather than chemicals. And that has really helped improve the overall water quality. Last, and we've got Chief Alforky with us tonight. Chief Agson is on a much deserved vacation. After examining various different weather sites, it does show that fire behaviors and state fire reports indicate that Santa Barbara County should experience really high temperatures and winds, and an anticipated red flag event on Wednesday. That coupled with kind of low fuel moistures coming in and an active week for the fire season ahead of us. And so we've positioned assets in a variety of ways, including our training, partner agency preparation, fuel reductions, and we'll take action as conditions dictate. And just while the council was beginning the meeting, we've asked for the public's participation and vigilance in helping us if they see any sort of fires in our creeks and our open space areas to immediately report those to the city so we can go out and take action. And so we're asking for the public's help to make sure that we're being extremely cautious during these times. Before I move off from this slide, I just be remiss on bullet point number 2, that I just want to thank the fire department and all the city team for helping set up those public points of distribution. Huge kudos to the team that added this to their workload at the end of December and really helped stand up those facilities. So now moving into your Emergency Services Director report, we still have 2 incident action plans running today. The pandemic incident action plan is supporting vaccinations. That's primarily communications, employee health, and that is to make sure as we reopen that we're complying with the California Department of Public Health requirements. Reopening and demobilization, a lot of the city team was actively working on that and trying to push out communications to the council and to the community. You may have seen a variety of emails that came out with talking points for the city council, in addition to communicating with the business community. And then the last piece is on economic recovery. So we don't know when we'll be completely demobilizing the EOC. We're still at level 3. And we'll know more as we get the final orders from the governor's office and we understand the long-term requirements from the California Department of Public Health. On the Margarita incident, and for those who are following it, this was the unfortunate shooting of Officer Benedetti. Our focus continues to be on long-term employee health and support, and that we have a tremendous amount of interest in the community on ways and ideas to help memorialize Detective Benedetti. And so we're working through that process, and there's a team that's been assigned to that. And this incident action plan will likely go on for some time. The current plan takes us through June 28th. Now with what I hope to be one of the last Emergency Service Director report on COVID, I want to talk about the number of cases. We're at 21,000 cases in our county, close to about 4 million in California, overall about 33 million in the United States, worldwide about 176 million. Today's cases, we had 10 Active cases 47, and you can see that is a very, very low active case rate, like what we saw in early spring of 2020. Recovered cases, most of those we've been very fortunate, and we've had a total of 261 deaths. We're at our ICU bed availability in SLO County, 50%, total beds 38, 19 beds are occupied in the ICU, 1 with COVID. Residents with COVID-19 in hospital, that includes out of area, including Marion Regional Center. But we do have 1 in the ICU. And this just really brings to light that if you are eligible to receive a vaccination, how important it is for you to get that vaccination. There are variants that are emerging that are spreading faster and showing signs that they have a more detrimental impact to people's health. And so no one should be thinking that if they don't get vaccinated, that they may not contract the disease and fall ill. Where are we in the state? We have about 18 million that have been fully vaccinated, another 3.5 million that have been partially vaccinated, a healthy amount of doses on hand, about almost 44 days of inventory. We have about 273,000 doses that have been administered in our county since the beginning of the year. And that's, I think, pretty impressive in the last 6 months to have that many doses that have been administered. So today the state has reopened. And so what does it mean? All sectors in the current blueprint activities can return to usual operations. And the state has ended physical distancing and capacity limits on businesses and the county tier system. So on July 6th, as I mentioned before, it'll be our first in-person meeting. I've gone through some of these details, but I want to emphasize a few more. The City Council will be accepting public comment in the following ways: mail or email comments received by 3 p.m., verbal comments received by 3 p.m., and in-person public comments during and at the City Council meeting here at City Hall. The demobilization planning, all of our public buildings will reopen on June 21st. Our digital services, which our customers have really enjoyed, will continue in full, but limited in-person hours of operation will be in effect in some cities and in some city facilities. And so I just want to pause here for a moment. Common in-person hours will be Monday and Wednesday, 1 to 4 in the afternoon, and Tuesday and Thursday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., and Friday by appointment. We're going to have these hours of operations through the end of July, and then we'll take a pause. You may be asking, well, why are we having these modified hours? Because we still need to attend to the customer demands in the virtual space as well. And so we can't do both the virtual and the physical at the same time. And so that's why we're approaching it this way. And so we're looking forward to having people back in city facilities. Let the public and the council know that many of the facilities will look a lot different. For example, over at 919, there is glass barriers to allow for separation between the public and the staff. We have installed other variety of safety measures to make sure that people's experience is as safe as possible. In terms of masking requirements, this has been a point of discussion, and we believe we got it right based upon everything we've learned today, is that masks are not required for fully vaccinated individuals, except in specific settings. And so that's public transit. So if you're riding slow transit, you'll need to wear a mask. K through 12 schools, and that's because not everyone is eligible for a vaccination in schools. Healthcare facilities, detention centers, homeless shelters, emergency shelters, and cooling centers. And so masks are required for unvaccinated individuals in indoor public settings and businesses may ask patrons to show proof of vaccination status or ask them to wear a mask. For city employees, the city will align our masking mandates with Cal OSHA. So they're meeting on Thursday, June 17th, to align and reconcile the CDC and the CDPH masking requirement. And the governor indicated, I think it was last night, he intends to issue an order for Cal OSHA's decision to go into effect immediately, because typically there's a 2-week delay, and that would be awfully confusing to have conflicting standards. As a result, all guidance on masking will be aligned after Thursday's meeting, meaning masks will not be required for fully vaccinated employees, and all employees will still be able to wear masks if they choose to do so. And so you may be asking yourself, well, how will you know, Derek? How will you know if your employee is vaccinated? Well, we just literally real time during this meeting, we received information on an order that may require employers to ask their employees and for employees to tell us whether or not they're vaccinated. So we have that information. So this again is very, very fluid. We're navigating through the requirements. We'll know more at the close of business on Thursday of this week. And with that, Madam Mayor and Council, this concludes the Emergency Services Director report, which I hope is the last of my reports that we've had to provide over the last 14 months. I think we've got one more in store on July 6th, and we hopefully close out our IAP. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Derek, and thank you so much for doing such a great job this entire time. These have been really informative, I know, for the council, and I'm sure for the community. I have a question that is related to some extent, but didn't come up. With the high heat happening now and likely for the rest of the summer and potentially the rest of our lives, do we have any update on cooling centers? Luckily, the library is open now fully, so that can be useful for folks. Do we have any other spots for folks if they are in need of a cooling space?
That's a great question, Madam Mayor. That's certainly a conversation as part of our resiliency engagement, and cooling centers is something that has come up. It does require staffing and a plan to be able to pull that together. We're not currently positioned to be able to do that. We do hope as the senior center gets active, if you recall, right before COVID, the senior center did install an HVAC system, and that's particularly the vulnerable population. So we're hoping that as they reactivate, and the good news is that the majority of 65 plus individuals in our county have been vaccinated, that can be their first stop for that most vulnerable population. But longer term, cooling centers is a program item that we'll have to implement and see what type of city facilities we can spool up when we have these high heat events.
Thank you so much. And thank you to the unions for bringing that HVAC system to the senior center. That is so great. Was super excited about that. It was sad to see everything shut down and not be able to utilize that last year. Vice Mayor Stewart.
Thank you. Thank you for a great report and so much good information in there. For the mobile vaccines, can nonprofits still call in to request to be a mobile site or to be a site?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe there's a threshold number that they're looking at to try to get a number of individuals. I believe it was 50. I don't know the exact number, but there is a number you can call at County Public Health, and you can arrange to have a mobile site up and running. And that is a very effective way when you have populations that may not have access for a variety of reasons, for them to get that access in a very convenient way.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And now I would like to present a proclamation declaring June 19th, 2021 as Juneteenth. I believe I'm presenting this to Cheryl Vines from the NAACP.
Yes, Mayor, but I don't
see
her name. Okay, so which one is it? You promoted her?
It says Cheryl Vines right here.
Oh.
Yeah, do you see her? Okay, great. I think she just hopped on. Perfect. All right. Whereas June 19th, 1865, the American celebration known as Juneteenth, has historically been observed as the end of the institution of slavery in our great nation. And whereas Juneteenth embodies the indomitable human spirit of the past, the present, and of all time, and whereas the celebration of Juneteenth gives us all the opportunity to rededicate ourselves to the true American spirit and to strive for a more perfect union, and whereas we are citizens who wish to secure the blessings of freedom, justice, and equality for all in this great country of ours, and whereas the collaboration of community-based organizations, faith-based organizations, local businesses, and local government demonstrates a shared commitment to being part of the solution and acknowledging the importance of strength through unity. Now, therefore, I, Heidi Harmon, Mayor of the City of San Luis Obispo, on behalf of the entire City Council, hereby proclaim the third Saturday of June 2021 as Juneteenth Day, and recommend all citizens of the City of San Luis Obispo join in recognizing the importance of this day. I'd like to bring Cheryl on to say a few words. And I did see that Congress, I believe, I don't know exactly what they did today, but they did take action, I think, to officially honor and celebrate Juneteenth for the first time in our nation's history. So that's exciting as well. So Cheryl, please.
Well, thank you. Well, that is exciting. I haven't had a chance to listen to the news today. So, but I want to thank all of you for the proclamation declaring Juneteenth. And we do need to get this as a national holiday. So that's one of the things that we're going to be working on. And I'm really excited. This year, we have a great program in store for you. So I hope that you can join us. We will be celebrating freedom. You can dress up, put on your Sunday best, and wear a hat if you want to. And join us as we celebrate celebrate Juneteenth. If you haven't seen our advertisement and everything, we're doing 2 days of celebration. And on Friday evening, we're going to be screening Judas and the Black Messiah, and it's going to be hosted by Liquid Gravity. You have to reserve your seat or your table. So I understand that it's filling up pretty fast. So there's still some seats left, but we would love to have all of you, participate in that. And then on Saturday, we have another event that will be live streamed. And our theme this year is the color of health. There's a lot of disparities in the Black community regarding health and also other people of color. And then with COVID, this 1.5 year long pandemic that we've all been going through, we thought it would really be great to focus on health and mental health and physical health and your spiritual, health as well. So it's going to be a really great event. We have a keynote speaker, Linda Janet Holmes. She's an independent scholar, curator, and longtime women's health activist. She will be our keynote speaker. And then we have an artist that does a phenomenal job as far as poetry goes. And then we have Dante Marsh and the Vibe Setters that will be closing us out on Saturday evening. We have a panelist with Dr. Joy Carter and Dr. Kevin Ferguson, Kiana Shelton from Behavior Health, San Luis Obispo County, and Reverend Stephen Vines also will be on the panelists. So we're excited this is our 4th annual Juneteenth celebration. And each year it seems to just be getting better and more people want to get involved. So we're happy and excited that you are recognizing Juneteenth. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Cheryl, and thank you for the great work that the NAACP is doing here locally. If you could send that to me, I know, and I'm guessing my colleagues as well, I'd be happy to share that out on social media. And just to clarify what I was saying earlier, it's pretty exciting actually, because the Senate today unanimously, which I don't know if they've ever done anything unanimously, honestly, passed a measure that would establish a federal holiday for Juneteenth, and now it goes to the House, which it's likely to pass. So it looks
Great.
like, Juneteenth is on its way to becoming a federally recognized holiday. So
wonderful, much needed.
Yes, so
hopefully, long overdue.
Yeah,
for sure.
Next year we'll all be having the day off. It sounds like, to celebrate and well, I don't know if to celebrate, of course, freedom, but also I would invite folks, especially white folks such as myself, to really take the time to educate ourselves, to learn about our very complex and troubling at times, certainly our history, and see what more we could be doing in this present moment to create more justice and freedom for all. So thank you so much, Cheryl.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Now we will move on to public comment. This is for items that are not on the agenda. And so just want to quickly go over our civility guidelines. They are to listen first, respect different opinions, show courtesy, criticize constructively, and debate the policy and not the person. And we focus on issues and not personalized debate or use other tactics that divert attention from those issues. And speakers should direct their comments to the council and not the audience or the staff, and avoid personal attacks, abusive language, or other disruptive behavior. So, City Clerk, do we have any speakers?
Yes, we do. The first one is Chris Rodebush.
Okay. Go ahead, Chris.
Hi, good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Awesome, wonderful. Well, greetings. My name is Chris Rodebush. I'm a resident of San Luis Obispo and I work at First 5 San Luis Obispo County. And I'm here representing the We Are the Care initiative. Our world has started shifting towards a new kind of normal, which brings an overwhelming sense of positivity and hope for the future. Now is the time to focus on all that needs rebuilding. Before the pandemic, families were challenged to access affordable, quality childcare options in SLO County. Now the situation is all the more dire. We have lost over 1,000 licensed childcare slots and more are still threatened today. Persistent financial and mental hardship for families and children exist in SLO County as a result of the pandemic. Local funding allocations as part of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 offer a unique opportunity to support those in our community that have been most disproportionately affected by COVID. Among these are families with young children. Children under the age of 6 represent 5% of the population of SLO County, which is why we urge the city of San Luis Obispo to invest 5% of your ARPA allocation in support of our youngest residents and the families. This is a request we are asking of all cities as well as the County Board of Supervisors. Strong families create a bolstered economy, which strengthens the communities in which infants and toddlers can learn, grow, and thrive. First 5 SLO County, in collaboration with the We Are the Care and a coalition of local partners, offers this city a suite of 8 proposed strategies for these one-time ARPA investments. These strategies focus on strengthening local systems of support in childcare, mental health, and stable housing that will help our community and our economy, our families, and our children on the road to recovery. Details surrounding these strategies will be submitted to city council members in the next few days. These strategies include strengthening the local childcare system infrastructure, family resource center operations, access to childcare through vouchers, small business grants for childcare programs, workforce development for childcare professionals, childcare facility capacity, mental and behavioral health support for children and families, and family housing stabilization. The time to act is now. We urge you to set aside 5% of the American Rescue Plan Act funding provided to your city government as an investment for the first 5 years of life. For more ways to get involved with We Are the Care, please contact First 5 SLO County or go to www.first5slo.org. Thank you so much for your time and for your continued support of the young children and families in your community.
Thank you so much. I'm not seeing any other hands. City Clerk, are you seeing any other speakers?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Before we move on to the consent agenda, I just wanted to say a few words about the situation at the county with the county clerk recorder, Tommy Gong, as it's come up in past city council meetings, as it should, and it's deeply concerning. I know I was extremely concerned, and I think the council is gravely disappointed and saddened to learn that Tommy Gong, our county election officials, is leaving the county. The treatment of Tommy Gong is something that I know our city and our community stand against strongly. To hear that right here in our own county, an Asian American leader was targeted and berated for doing his job in racialized terms as well is something that we should all strongly condemn. As you recall, the City Council agreed that both Council Member Marks and I were to draft a letter to the Board of Supervisors to support Tommy Gong to denounce Asian hate and the verbal intimidation and bullying of an elections official. However, with his announced departure, we will be writing 2 letters, one to Tommy to personally thank him and to express our great disappointment in losing such a fine elections official. And the second letter will be to the Board of Supervisors to express the gravity and importance of their role in appointing a replacement and the need for the public, regardless of political affiliation, to have the greatest confidence that they can administer elections in a fair and impartial way that maximizes the ability for persons to participate in the American democratic process. Copies of those letters will be made available to the council and to the public, and when they are distributed sometime next week. This story received much national attention, and it was terrible on multiple levels, not to mention excruciatingly embarrassing, and sheds some really terrible light on our county. We received several communications from folks outside of our area strongly stating that they plan to never visit our community again due to the racism towards Tommy Gong and the antagonism towards voting rights here in San Luis Obispo County. This represents a threat to justice and voting rights, most importantly, but also to our local economy. And we cannot, should not, and will not stand for that. Okay, now we will move on to, I have another item about, actually, that I wanted to bring up to see if my colleagues wanted to agendize a conversation about amending our flag policy. As other communities have, to include, for example, the pride flag, which we've missed our opportunity this month, unfortunately. And so I wanted to see if there is council majority willingness to agendize a conversation about amending our flag policy.
I would just like to say I appreciate the gesture, and I think that we recognize and celebrate diversity in all kinds of different ways at the city, and would not be interested in amending the flag policy at this
time. Vice Mayor?
Similarly, I really feel when I saw that policy come through from AG, I really thought, oh wow, we should look at that too. That sounds fantastic. We all support LGBTQ plus community. We want to make this a more inclusive community. And yet I also thought about then we become the stewards of free speech in the sense of what if someone wants to wave let's just say XYZ racist flag instead, and how do we make those determinations? So I'm a little bit concerned about us becoming the stewards of free speech. I feel that we're pretty safe if we can say state and city and federal flags, and that's it.
Councilmember Marks? You're muted, Councilmember Marks.
I agree that we should not change our flag policy at this time and not agendize it. I think that we need to be as neutral as possible and open to all different points of view. So anyway, I was surprised we're talking about this now. So thank you.
Councilmember Christensen?
Yes, I'm afraid I agree with the other council members. This kind of reminds me a little bit about the art monuments policy. It sounds like a good idea at the beginning, and then you realize you've waded into a big mess. And I think sticking to the tried and true is a good place to be, and we can certainly support a number of wonderful groups and ideas in our city without having to deal with the flag policy.
All right, well, I just want to invite the community to venture down to Mission Plaza, where we do have a Pride celebration currently. And also for folks, if you need support or access to Pride activities, I would encourage you to check out Gala's website and go there if that is of interest to you. And now we have the consent agenda. This is for items deemed to be non-controversial. I'm not seeing any hands. I'm sorry, Councilmember Pease, did you have an additional thing you wanted to say? So your hand is still up.
No, I put it up again because there's one item on the consent agenda sorry, I was just looking for it real quick. 6C, which is the property on Dana Street to be on the historic resources as a master list resource. And that's right by within the 500-foot radius of my office. So I'll be recusing from that item.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Marks?
Yes, I just had a comment. I want to really thank the Jack House Family Trust for being willing to donate $7,500 to restore the art inside of the Jack House, which did belong to the Jack family. So just a comment. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Councilmember Christensen, is your hand re-up or are you? No, you're good. Okay. Would someone like to, Carlin, would you like to make a motion?
Mayor, we have one hand up for public comment, I believe.
Okay, great.
Okay, Luke Dunn.
Luke, just so you know, if you're speaking, we can't hear you, but sometimes it takes a minute to connect.
Oh, my apologies.
Okay.
I was having.
Yes.
Oh, my apologies for all that technical difficulties in the beginning. Hope all of you are well. Long time no see. But yes, I don't even know if now would be an appropriate time to mention it is an item that is not on the agenda. So I actually believe I had lost the opportunity to mention that.
Yes, right now we're talking about items that are on the consent agenda.
Yeah, I apologize for my delay, but I will just go ahead and perhaps shoot you maybe an email to all of you about this item. It has to do with bees, honeybees. So I'll just.
Sounds like a sweet item.
Yeah.
And Father's Day. Okay, yeah. Looking forward to your email. Sounds great.
Yes, thank you so much, y'all. Hope all of you are well.
Thank you. You too. All right, Bettina looks like she's got her hand up.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. My name is Bettina Swigger, as you know, and I am the CEO of Downtown SLO, the nonprofit organization that partners with the city, with businesses, with individuals, and the community to advocate for a vibrant downtown. And I'm here tonight to thank you for continuing to support the work of this fine organization. As your downtown voice for business, representing thousands of people who work downtown, own businesses, commute to work, and live in our charming and historic downtown, it's vital for the heart of our city to keep beating. Over the past 16 months, Downtown SLO has worked on behalf of the businesses in the downtown community to make sure that we all remained viable during the pandemic and we stayed strong to enter what I believe is going to be a very strong recovery. We hosted weekly Zoom meetings, which were a touchstone for many as we tried to interpret rules and regulations that were changing all the time. And we provided businesses with materials to go through different phases of opening and closing and reopening. We provided support and education and, yes, sometimes a shoulder to cry on. And through it all, our ambassadors helped keep our sidewalks clean and they cleaned graffiti from our city streets. Our organization's finances were really drastically impacted by the pandemic, but we are coming back and we are poised to reach new heights and impact in the next 2-year budget cycle. We're really happy to be bringing back popular activities like Farmers Market, which comes back to its full-scale operation this Thursday for 5 blocks of fresh produce, food, and entertainment. And then later in the summer, in August, we'll be bringing back programs like Concerts in the Plaza, which are going to be starting August 6th. So with your support, the future for our organization is bright, and I want to thank you for your continued investment in downtown as a whole in the budget and the fiscal plan for 21 to 23, and for your confidence in this organization. I'd also like to specifically thank city staff, Greg Herman, Lee Johnson, Molly Kano, and of course your fearless leader, City Manager Derek Johnson, for your partnership. It really is an honor and a pleasure to do this work with you. And on behalf of the business community, thank you.
Thank you so much, Bettina, and thank you for your perseverance and the perseverance of so many downtown businesses. And I was downtown today, excited about promoting the new Shop Local program. So if you commit to shopping local, you can go to the chamber and make a little pledge. I love pledges. I was a Girl Scout. I don't know, that reminds me of those Girl Scout days, and you'll get a $20 gift card to a local business. So it's pretty exciting. So it looked like things were thriving and going great downtown. So it was exciting to see that on this first day of, I don't even know what to call it. We need some new words, but reopening, reemerging, hopefully reimagining what we're going to be doing next. So thank you. Best of luck to all the businesses too in this new phase. All right. With that, then, would someone like to, oh my God, cute photo.
I'll go ahead and move consent.
Great. Thank you, Carlin, or Councilmember Christensen.
I'll second it.
Thank you. City Clerk?
Councilmember Christensen,
Yes.
Councilmember Marks,
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart. I'm sorry, Vice Mayor Stewart.
Yes.
Councilmember Pease,
Yes, except recused on the one item.
Mayor Harmon.
Yes, and with that, it passes 5-0. Thank you, everyone. And now we will move on to a public hearing to establish the water and sewer rates for fiscal years 21-22 and 22-23. And Utilities Director Aaron Floyd and Business Manager Jennifer Thompson will please present the report. And I just want to remind the public that we have actually had these deeper conversations about rates for at least 6 months in the recent past. So you can go back and watch those city council meetings if you really want to take a deep dive into how we kind of came up with the infrastructure, if you will, of how these rates will be set. So with that, I will let Aaron take it away.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor and Council members. Aaron Floyd, the Utilities Director. Tonight's water and sewer rate hearing is the final step of our 21-23 financial plan process for the Utilities Department. As Mayor Harmon stated, the item in front of us follows up on the June 1st council hearing where we discussed the water and sewer budgets along with the upcoming capital projects. Jennifer Thompson, our Utilities Business Manager, will be giving the water and sewer rate presentation this evening, and then we're happy to answer any questions. So with that, Jennifer.
Good evening, Mayor Harmon and City Council members. As Aaron mentioned, I'm Jennifer Thompson, the Utilities Department Business Manager. Tonight, I'm presenting the 2021-23 Water and Sewer Rate Review. So there have been some zigs and zags with respect to water and sewer rates over the past 2 years. So this slide presents a brief history of rate increases since June of 2019. In June 2019, the City Council approved 2 years of water and sewer rate increases, and this followed a legally required Proposition 218 notification process and public hearing. The first year rate increase was implemented on July 1st, 2019, but the City Council then elected to defer the second year increase scheduled for July 1st, 2020 to accommodate those customers that were negatively impacted by the COVID-19 economic downturn. In December 2020, the Council implemented the July 1st, 2020 rate increase at a lower than previously adopted level. And this rate increase was effective February 1st of 2021. Today, staff is recommending that the Council implement a rate increase of 3.5% in 2021-22, effective July 1st, 2021, and a rate increase of 3.5% in 2022-23, effective July 1st of 2022. The Utilities Department conducts a comprehensive rate study approximately every 5 years using a consultant, and that study develops a projection of water and wastewater revenues to support the city's operating and capital costs. It proportionally allocates those costs for providing water and sewer service to those customers receiving the service, and it proposes cost-based and equitable rates. That comprehensive rate study projects rates 5 years into the future. So the 2018 rate study projected rates from 2018 through 2023. Between those comprehensive rate studies, the Utilities Department uses the same consultant to perform a rate confirmation study. The rate confirmation study is smaller and less comprehensive, and it's intended to confirm that the rates projected in that comprehensive rate study are still appropriate. A rate confirmation study was performed in the spring of 2021, and it recommended lower rates for fiscal years 2021-22 and 22-23 than were originally projected in the comprehensive rate study. The comprehensive rate study projected water rates to increase 5.5% in 2021-22, and 5.5% in 2022-23. And it projected sewer rates to increase 6.5% in 2021-22 and 6.5% in 2022-23. The rate confirmation study and staff today is recommending a 3.5% increase for both water and sewer in each of the next 2 fiscal years. Utilities will perform another comprehensive rate study prior to its next rate increase, which is likely to occur in 2023. Additional revenue from Cal Poly and refined investment and impact fee revenue budgets contributed to the lower than originally projected water and sewer rate increases. In early 2021, the city amended its water and sewer rate and capacity agreements with Cal Poly. The amended agreements included a water operational resiliency payment and water treatment plant and water resource recovery facility capacity payments. The operational resiliency payment ensures that Cal Poly has an uninterrupted supply of water. The city uses a multi-source water supply, while Cal Poly relies solely on Whale Rock Reservoir for its water. Unanticipated events may impact Whale Rock's ability to deliver water. So as the water purveyor, the city does not want Cal Poly, who's an important economic driver and community partner, to be without water. So the city worked with Cal Poly to identify a methodology and costs to provide water supply operational resiliency for its domestic water deliveries. The capacity payments are Cal Poly's contribution to the water treatment plant and water resource recovery facility upgrades. Cal Poly holds a capacity interest in both plants, so it has agreed to contribute to the plant upgrades to maintain its capacity interest in those upgraded plants. The collection of impact fees is wholly dependent on development activity and therefore can vary significantly from year to year. Historically, impact fees were budgeted based on historic lowest amount collected and then adjusted at mid-year if fee revenues were higher than anticipated. With the implementation of the infrastructure analyst position in the finance department, the city has been able to better project actual impact fee collection based on upcoming development activity. And with that improved information, the utilities department has changed its impact fee budgeting methodology to the average of the next 5 years expected impact fees. And this higher budget serves to offset rate increases. Like impact fees, investment revenue has historically been budgeted very conservatively at just $50,000 per year per fund. And beginning in 2021-22, the city is revising these projections to align with historic investment earnings of 2% per year. Using this assumption, the water and sewer funds are budgeting investment revenue at 2% of its previous year-end working capital balance. This higher budget also serves to offset rate increases. Other funding sources, other than rates, such as grants, also serve to offset rising rates. The water and sewer funds have been awarded over $9 million in grants over the last 3 years, and these grants pay for portions of projects that would otherwise have been paid by rates. So just to highlight a couple of the grants, the city received a $4 million loan forgiveness for the wharf upgrade, and it's also been awarded $800,000 to purchase a generator at the water treatment plant. Proposition 218 requires California agencies to comply with certain requirements prior to raising water or sewer rates. And those requirements include mailing a notice of the proposed increase to all property owners and account holders to ensure everybody impacted by the rate increase is aware of the process. That's done 45 days prior to the public hearing scheduled to adopt the rates. And the notice includes a ballot that allows property owners and/or account holders to protest the rate increase. The Utilities Department mailed 19,900 notices on April 28th. A protest is valid if it's received from the property owner or the account holder, but only one protest per service address will be counted. If 50% plus one of the account holders protest the rate increase, it may not be adopted. There are currently 15,835 active water accounts. So if 7,918 protests against the water rate had been received, the city would be barred from raising water and sewer rates. As of 3 p.m. today, we have received 671 water rate protests. There are currently 15,305 active sewer accounts. So if 7,653 protests against the sewer rate had been received, the city would be barred from raising sewer rates. And as of 3 p.m. today, we have received 686 sewer rate protests. If rates are adopted tonight, customers will be notified of the rate increase via a message on their bill, the city website, social media, a press release, and a bill insert in their July bill. The primary need for continued rate increases in the water and sewer funds is aging infrastructure. On June 1st, the Council adopted the 2021-23 Water and Sewer Capital Improvement Plan, so rates being adopted tonight will support that plan. Much of the nation's water infrastructure is original, and the City of San Luis Obispo is no exception. Both the city's source water and treated drinking water infrastructure are aging and need to be continually maintained. Aging pipelines mean frequent failures in the form of crack lines and water line breaks. And the amount of work needed to ensure continued service is high when source water supplied to the city from reservoirs is as far as 50 miles away, and there are over 190 miles of publicly owned drinking water pipeline inside the community. The sewer fund needs to continue replacement of sewer main lines to reduce inflow and infiltration into the collection system, a reduced scheduled maintenance, increase capacity to allow for development, and reduce wastewater overflows. The need to continually maintain and replace aging infrastructure also means that it's important to maintain the fiscal health of the funds. The water fund has a bond issuance that requires the fund to be evaluated and given a credit rating each year. The credit rating, which we call the Fitch rating, because that's the agency that establishes the rating, is an indicator of the fund's overall health and its ability to meet its debt obligations and operating costs. The credit rating is important because it allows the city to access loans for infrastructure projects more readily and at a lower interest rate, which in the end is a saving to ratepayers. The credit rating considers, among other things, whether the water fund is consistently adjusting rates to keep up with inflation, whether it's maintaining its progress on capital improvements, and its capital reserve levels. Due to the unprecedented times during its 2020 credit evaluation, Fitch understood the city's decision to defer the adopted water rate increase temporarily. However, Fitch noted in its report that future deferments of rate increases would lead to insufficient revenues needed to maintain infrastructure and could result in the water fund losing its AA credit rating. In addition to maintaining and replacing aging infrastructure, the sewer fund is preparing for the costs of near-term projects, including the potential relocation of the wastewater collection and WRF shops, which are projected to be impacted by the city's Prado Road Overpass project, increased operational costs associated with the WRF upgrade, and a nearly $6 million per year WRF upgrade debt payment. This slide presents the impact of the rate increase to the average customer. A customer who uses 5 units of water will see their water bill increase by $4.26 per month. And it would be easy to say that it's only $4 or it's less than a gallon of gas, but utility staff is acutely aware of the impacts of rate increases to customers through daily interactions with ratepayers. And as you'll recall, the City Council adopted a revised customer assistance program at the June 1st Council meeting. And the purpose of that revised customer assistance program is to allow more residential customers to qualify for a 15% discount on their water and sewer bill. The program will be funded through late fees collected from customers who do not pay their bills on time. It's important to note that all types of customers across the city are subject to the same already established late fees, and that includes large corporate customers, other businesses, and all types of residential customers. This slide lists the eligibility requirements for customers. All customers are welcome to apply online now at slocity.org/UB, which stands for utility billing. Since the revised customer assistance program was updated 2 weeks ago, Utilities has begun to reach out to customers to ensure they're aware of the new program. The new program is posted on the city website, has been posted on social media, and will be included in a bill insert that's going out later this week. And now I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much. And thank you for all the great work that your whole team is doing. And thank you also to former city councils and community members for setting up the city of SLO so beautifully to have such a robust water portfolio. It's obviously water is life. It's the most important thing there is. And so thank you to so many people that have gone into having such a good outcome. Let's see. I can't see my colleagues. I can only
I'm
see
raising my hand.
Oh, there we go.
And Jan Marks.
Okay, I think, okay, go ahead, Jan, and then Eric, and then Erica.
Sorry. Yes, I just wanted to say that I'm really pleased at this report and the fact that we were able to actually lower projected rates. It's always wonderful when the city is able to do that, and it shows the integrity of the whole process. So thank you.
Great. Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you. I just first wanted to thank you very much about showing how the reductions happened and why the ratings are so important as far as the rate increases. Every year I struggle on this because I see it being, you know, a tax on people who don't have the finances. And yet I also know that we need to invest in our water infrastructure and continue to be able to provide water, safe water to the whole community. I know at one point I talked about how June seems to be a really important time where people are kind of busy and not really focusing on this. Is there any chance that we can move it back, maybe even just a month? Is that something that would be a possibility with these hearings back, or is it required in the state regulations?
No, that is an option. That is a possibility. It just would require starting sooner and earlier in our rate studies. And so that's something we can certainly consider for next time, because the next rate study will be much more comprehensive and we'll need to begin it earlier anyway. So can certainly consider that.
Awesome, thank you. And then I'm also really excited that you, oh, sorry, say again?
No, sorry to jump in. Just to give the reason why, at one point they were separated. I think we got some council direction to bundle it up with the budget so that it was part and parcel to the revenues and expenditures. And so it was, you saw the whole picture, because if the rate gets separated from the budget before we've made decisions on CIP, sometimes it feels like the cart is before the horse, that we've already put the rates in front of the expenditures. So we're happy to work with whatever council feels is appropriate, but I just wanted to provide a little context.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And I'm also really excited that we're finally able to offer a customer assistance program. Can you just give me a little bit more about, I went to the U/UB site. I found it by typing in customer assistance program, but when going to the /UB site, how can someone actually get to the program?
So it is there is a menu on the left-hand side of that page, and one of the options is assistance programs. And on that page, it describes both this program and then some other options that customers have if they're unable to pay their bill. There's some local organizations that will help people pay their bill. So those other options are listed there as well.
Great, thank you so much for sharing that with everyone.
Yeah.
I have not seen any more colleagues with their hands up. And I see one public speaker. Oh, nope. Looks like they put their hand down. So I'm not sure if there are any public speaker. Now it's up. So Teresa, can you help me? It says SLO Camera Club. I don't know who that actually is, but. Go ahead. Hello?
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we have some major concerns given the new development in the respective area off Madonna Road and off the Los Osos Valley Road. And obviously with these new developments, there has to be some water allocations for those new developments. So I guess a major concern is, where is that water coming from? And I think by just having these rate increases on an annual basis, we actually had a meeting, a face-to-face meeting with some of the people from the water department about 3-4 years ago. And all the things that I've seen on the slides tonight are almost identical to what was addressed then. So I guess my question is anybody or any department looking into any new strategies of possibly getting any more water here? I know we can't make it rain, obviously, that's a big problem. But, there are some potential other strategies that maybe should be evaluated so that there might be some other options for the water other than constant price increases. And I know for a fact, because we did this analysis before, the people in the lower tiers seem to be paying the highest prices. So just, concern as a residential homeowner, how all of this fits together, and are there any plans on the table for maybe, I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but if we're paying $4 a gallon for gasoline because it's being piped in, why can't we pipe in water and charge something for that? There are parts of the country that get more than enough, way too much water. And why can't we be bringing any of that water into the state, at least for things like agriculture and things that are commercial uses that could be a benefit?
Yeah, thank you. I've heard other people with concerns around climate change bring up similar ideas. You appear to be the only speaker, so perhaps Aaron Floyd or maybe Michael Codron, if he's on the call, can help illuminate the relationship briefly between development and water, and also that we actually do have a very robust water portfolio, and that also it's always frustrating, but it is true that most of the cost of water is actually the infrastructure, not the water itself so much. So Aaron, is that you or Jennifer, whoever would like to take that?
Thank you, Mayor Harmon. Again, Aaron Floyd, Utilities Director. And we're uniquely situated in our conversations this evening because the next agenda item is actually going to dig really deep into this conversation. It's the Urban Water Management Plan. And in the agenda, I would really recommend that the speaker either meet with city staff, and we are available to do that, to go through the agenda packet, but we have an urban water management plan that really goes into great depth of how we actually do forecast the amount of water we need, not only through the end of the 2035 general plan, but also we're now actually into the year 2040 and really forecasting out our water supplies. We have looked at in this program upcoming additional water supplies as well, as the caller also referenced there. We are looking at expansion of our groundwater program. And I think that we are also contemplating potential future uses of our highly treated wastewater, specifically for recycled water expansion, which these rates would be supportive of, as well as further infrastructure maintenance and repairs. As far as how we actually contemplate the amount of water we need for future development, that's really also a core focus of the Urban Water Management Plan, which is our next agenda item. But I think I can summarily say we really look way, way beyond all of current development and really take a very conservative approach when we forecast the amount of water we need as a community. So we actually look at the maximum amount of water that each of us could actually use in the city. We look at the maximum possible amount of people that could live in the city by 2035. And then we apply climate action scenarios to our available multi-water supply to ensure that we have more than enough water with the dire consequences forecasted of climate change in our future to ensure that we still have enough water to meet not only current needs, but also those beyond the general plan.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that. All right, more to come in the next item, it sounds like. Yes. All right. Then clerk, I'd like to ask you to report out on the protest, please.
Mayor Harmon and members of council, since the release of the Proposition 218 notices for the water rates, which were sent out on April 29th, 2021, the city has received 671 written protests, and that was as of 3 o'clock as indicated. Since 3 o'clock, we've only received one additional protest. So with that, we are below the number required to have a valid protest. So with that, I will return it back to you.
Okay, great. So we take a vote on this, city clerk, and then we take a separate report out on the sewer rates. Is that how this has to go?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Carlin, or Councilmember Christensen, I see your hand up. Did you have something you'd like to say, or would you like to make a motion?
No, I was going to go. Oops. Yeah, I was going to go ahead and make a motion, but I also wanted to just briefly comment on Vice Mayor Stewart's comments about separating out these two things. I think I was on the council that wanted to put them together just because it makes more sense in terms of doing budgeting, that we try to do our budgeting all together. And I would pose that we actually, we got a lot of protests and some good feedback. So actually we've gotten probably more participation this time around than we have in a long time. So I think that actually, nobody really comes to budget hearings to actually say something if they've already said it. That's my personal opinion, having gone through these things, but I don't necessarily favor separating them back out again, but it's certainly something to keep in mind. We want to make sure we give people the opportunity to talk to us about rates and rate setting. Anyway, with that, I am going to go ahead and move staff recommendation that we approve this rate for the water.
Okay, great. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
City clerk?
Councilmember Christensen?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Pease?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stewart?
Yes.
Mayor Harmon?
Yes, and with that, it passes 5-0, and now we can move on to the sewer rates. So city clerk, can you please report out on the protest of the sewer rates?
Yes. Mayor Harmon and members of council, since the release of the Proposition 218 notices for the sewer rates on April 29, 2021, the city has received 686 as of 3 p.m. Again, one additional one after 3 p.m. Those were the written protests on the sewer rate increase that were validated in advance of tonight's public hearing. Based on the percentage needed, that does not constitute a legally sufficient protest for sewer rate increase.
Okay, great. Can we have a motion?
I'll move approval of the proposed rates, and I'll just chime in that since the protests or the Prop 218 notifications start April 29th, I feel like that gives folks who are kind of caught up in year-end stuff enough of a window to be able to participate in the program adequately.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, I'll second it.
Okay, great. And
sorry about that.
Councilmember Pease?
Yes.
Councilmember Christensen?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stewart?
Yes.
Mayor Harmon?
Yes, and with that, it passes 5-0. And now we will move on to the next item, which is also a public hearing to consider adopting the 2020 Urban Water Management Plan and Water Shortage Contingency Plan. So we will continue on with Aaron Floyd and have Deputy Director of Water, Michael Borman. And again, Jennifer will please present the report.
Well, good evening again, Mayor and Council members. This item is also a follow-up from a previous meeting. If you recall, we actually held a study session on the Urban Water Management Plan and Water Shortage Contingency Plan in April. And at that meeting received valuable input from Council and the community that we have incorporated into our current plans for you this evening. While the city of San Luis Obispo is not immune to drought, I am pleased to say that while water shortages are looming heavily over other parts of the state, in our city, our water supplies remain strong. In fact, though the timing of the Urban Water Management Plan is really more of a regulatory-driven requirement, we are at an opportune moment of drought awareness mixed with drought preparedness. And it's a good time this evening to highlight where the city is in terms of water resource availability and what steps we would take if we were to enter into a water shortage event. We're joined this evening by Deputy Director Michael Borman, who will give the presentation. And we're also joined with Jennifer Metz, our Utilities Project Manager, and Nick Teague, our Water Resources Program Manager. With that, Michael Borman.
Okay, good evening. I'm Michael Borman, the Deputy Director of the Utilities Department, as Aaron mentioned. I'd like to thank the City Council for their consideration of the 2020 Urban Water Management Plan and also the 2020 Water Shortage Contingency Plan. We have two recommendations for you to consider this evening. One to adopt the 2020 Urban Water Management Plan and another to adopt the 2020 Water Shortage Contingency Plan. Just a reminder that in past years, these two documents were combined. This year they're separate, so it's going to be two separate actions, one to adopt each plan. As you may recall, we were here before you earlier this year on April 13th for a study session to get input from.
Sorry, I'm not seeing a share screen. Is there a presentation you're going through, Michael?
Oh, let me try that again.
Sound is fading in and out a lot too.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
I had that happen last time. We did a couple test runs this time and didn't have that issue when we did the test runs. So I apologize for that.
That's okay.
Michael, try resharing your screen because you have shared your desktop and not the, there you go. Now you're right.
All right. And hopefully I will not continue to fade in and out the entire meeting. I don't know why when we go live it does it and not when I have my test runs with Teresa. So, all right. So as you'll recall, we were here before you earlier this year on April 13th for a study session to get input from the City Council and the community on the content for the Urban Water Management Plan and Water Shortage Contingency Plan. Since then, we've incorporated the feedback into these two plans. The 2020 Urban Water Management Plan and the 2020 Water Shortage Contingency Plan are required to be completed every 5 years, and the 2020 plans are actually due for submission July 1st of 2021. An urban water management plan is a plan that supports a water supplier's long-term resource planning and ensures adequate water supplies are available to meet existing and future water demands. The Urban Water Management Plan includes 7 chapters designed to comply with state requirements, and these are shown in the current slide. The city's 2020 Urban Water Management Plan is important because it provides the city with a reliable assessment of water supply and water demand trends. It contains information on hydrology and climate within the city, including historical rainfall and drought information, and discusses the reliability of the city's water supplies. It also documents the degree of likelihood that either a short-term or a long-term drought will impact water availability within the community. The plan that you have before you today accounts for current and future water demands over a 20-year period, so through 2040, which is actually 5 years beyond the city's existing general plan build-out projections. Interestingly, for the first time this year, the city's plan also includes an energy demand analysis. Summarizing this analysis, which we have a little bit of info on the screen here, is that 74% of potable water related to energy use was used by raw water conveyance from surface water reservoirs to the city's water treatment plant. Another 24% was used to treat the water at the city's Stenner Canyon water treatment plant. And about 2% was used to distribute that water within the community. So once it's been treated, sending it out to the end user. As raw water conveyance is the most energy intensive share of water related energy use, it is important to acknowledge that energy costs vary by reservoir, with Nacimiento being the most expensive at 967 kilowatt hours of electricity demand per acre foot of water delivered. It is also important to note that while more energy intensive, utilization of water from Nacimiento is the primary factor in extending the city's water supplies through periods of extended drought. In order to combat energy intensive water delivery from surface water reservoirs that are up to 50 miles away, the city is currently working on several projects that would allow for the resumed use of groundwater as a drinking water source within city limits. Groundwater is commonly the most energy efficient water supply source and also reduces energy demands within the treatment and distribution processes, since the wells, essentially we have a minimal amount of treatment at the well, so the water doesn't have to go through the treatment plant. And then those wells are located within our community, so it isn't being pumped as far to get there. With the great amount of detailed information in the Urban Water Management Plan, I do want to emphasize a few important takeaways for the community. The first is that the city's water supplies are diverse and able to withstand periods of prolonged drought, referred to in the plan as consecutive dry years. Second is that the city has planned for the growth of the community, and we do have ample water supplies to meet the growth of the community as it's defined in the general plan. And finally, the city far exceeded its SBX 77 goal of 117 gallons per capita per day water use and actually achieved 94 GPCD in 2020. And for this one, we definitely owe the community a big thank you, as we've far exceeded the goal, and really all that work is being done by the folks who live and work in our community. So thank you to any of you out there who are listening. Before we start discussing what we would do during a water shortage, I would like to provide a brief update on the city's water supply conditions. Although much of the state has received less than average rainfall this year, the city is not experiencing a water shortage and has ample supplies for our community today and for the communities built out as defined in the general plan. As you can see from the current slide, Salinas Reservoir is over 65% full, Whale Rock is over 75% full, and Nacimiento is at approximately 30%. Since the end of the recent drought, about 2016, the city's water use has stayed relatively constant at about 4,700 acre feet of water use per year. And just for comparing that to kind of that pre-drought level, we were at about 5,700 acre feet of water per year before we went into the drought. So now that we've wrapped up the key elements of the Urban Water Management Plan, we can discuss the Water Shortage Contingency Plan, which is now a separate plan from the 2020 Urban Water Management Plan. This plan details how the city intends to respond in case of an actual water shortage condition. While the city is not currently in a drought, it is important to remember that a water shortage can occur from a variety of conditions. These could include prolonged drought, climate change, a seismic event, source water contamination, pipeline failure, or a simple imbalance of the water being used by the community and the water available to the community. While some of these can be anticipated and planned for, things like climate change, events like a pipeline failure or a seismic event are less predictable and could occur unexpectedly. The 2020 Water Shortage Contingency Plan is really important to our community because it describes how the city would address a water shortage and the impacts that it would have on our customers. The plan defines 6 clear stages and actions to mitigate the risk to a water shortage where water supply is inadequate to meet the community's needs. It also considers the financial impacts of a loss of supply, as well as the funding and staffing needs associated with our response actions that we've outlined in the plan. As we discussed at the April 13th study session, the state recently adopted a standardized approach to water shortage stages, requiring a 6-stage plan where stages correspond with as low as a 10% reduction in available supply all the way up to 50% or more. The 2020 plan includes 6 stages shown in the presented slide. And the city's water supply status is informed by what we call our water projection model. And this model accounts for worst case rainfall and climate data projected over an extended period of time. So we are making these projections on how much water supply we have available to us, using really virtually no water flowing into our reservoirs. And that's an important thing for the community to understand, that we're really looking at worst case scenario. The proposed water shortage contingency plan goes into effect when the city has less than 5 years of available water supply, and it reaches its final stage, which is called the critical stage, when there are 2.5 years or less of water remaining. Since we met during the April study session, the water shortage contingency plan has been updated to reflect council and community input, including an addition that outside city water sales should be prohibited during a declared water shortage, and also that the city leave open opportunities to leverage modern technology, for instance, aerial imagery for outdoor irrigation restrictions, rather than using our traditional method of restricting time of day irrigation or number of days per week. So we haven't defined that we're able to do that immediately if we had a water shortage within the next few months, but we did leave the door open for modifying our plan using that technology, knowing that it's pretty common in the industry right now. Additionally, we had a lot of requests from the council and from the community that we improve our public outreach. And so we're looking to cater some of our outreach efforts to underrepresented members of the community, such as Cal Poly and Cuesta students, non-English speakers, and our local senior citizen community. As you know, public outreach and education are ongoing work efforts for us, and they play an important role in maintaining a conservation ethic within the community. And also for us, giving the community an understanding of the current water supply conditions that are affecting us. Summarized on the current slide are the outreach efforts for the Urban Water Management Plan and Water Shortage Contingency Plan. I'd also like to point out that Council recently approved an additional $100,000 for fiscal year 21-22 to help bolster the Water Fund's public outreach budget. With this recently adopted budget, we will increase proactive outreach to the community about water supply conditions and also about how they can participate in events for stakeholder input, like the council meeting tonight. And so one of the first things that we're likely going to see is some commercials on KCBX. So look forward to those hopefully within the next few weeks. And that completes the presentation for the 2020 Urban Water Management Plan and Water Shortage Contingency Plan. We'd be happy to answer any questions that council members have related to the presentation, the staff report, or either one of the plans. And just by the way, this lovely artwork on this slide is from some of our local students who recently participated in an art contest that we put on with the theme of how does drinking water affect your life?
Cute. Thank you so much. I think Councilmember Pease and then Councilmember Marks.
Great, thank you so much. Terrific report, just so comprehensive and thoughtful. I really appreciate all the work that went into both of these documents. On the Urban Water Management Plan, a question of the, I know I like talking about this a lot, is the 117 gallons per person per day allocation. And there's a couple of spots where it comes up in the planning. And so I guess I have a couple questions. One is I hadn't realized, let's see, on page 3-4, 212 of the packet, is the table that shows that the 117 for our Central Coast region. I think that's where that number is coming from. And it feels like it's kind of high for us. We haven't had to get to that level for a while. But I'm wondering, the other communities, North Coast, 130, North Lahontan, 164. So am I reading that right? Are they all in these other areas? And why would that be? Why are the numbers so different for our region to be so much lower?
Sure, I can explain that. So I think the table that you're referring to shows hydrologic regions of California, and what those numbers are is there were 3 methodologies that water purveyors in California could use to meet the requirements of Senate Bill 77. One was a direct 20% reduction on current use. There's a second, which I can never remember. And the third was to essentially meet this goal for your hydrologic region. And because the city's water use was already pretty low, achieving a 20% reduction really wasn't realistic for the city, but also for a lot of the Central Coast cities, because our evapotranspiration, our heat, and everything that influences water use is really low here. So that 117 is significantly lower than you might see in the Central Valley or in Southern California, largely because it's anticipated that we would need less water for outdoor irrigation in our area.
Gotcha. Okay, so they're already assuming a certain, based on our climate, that we're just not needing as much water.
Correct. Yeah, and
it's kind of a historic use of other regions or something.
Yeah, and we far exceeded that goal. As you can see, I think we were at 92 or 94 gallons per capita daily.
Yeah, I love that. And I, we've talked about before that at what point is it kind of like overly conservative to assume this 117 when we really have normalized being more down to the 90s, et cetera. I'm still comfortable with sticking with the numbers that we're at. Conservative makes sense, and it's very transparent about where those numbers are coming from. But my follow-up question is that there's kind of a yes, no, are you or are you not? And we are not accounting for anticipated code changes or other ordinances, et cetera. And I'm wondering if that really does make sense when I think about future water use and concerns people might have, like where's that water come from, et cetera, and the reality of the codes that are continuing to reduce indoor plumbing use to the point where it's almost negligible, honestly, and then even the outdoor use. Not only is our model water efficiency landscape ordinance dictating lower water use, but also just our land use planning. Our lots are smaller. There's just a lot less landscaping going on. And so I'm wondering if you can just, would it be kind of the next cycle that we look at that again? I mean, at what point do we account for the real reductions that are almost inevitable in terms of our water use?
Yeah, and that question is, again, it's related to the SBX 77 tables, which are proving our compliance with the 20% reduction, or us meeting that hydrologic region goal of 117. And so I believe what the state is trying to achieve with that is they want to know if we're making realistic projections for how much could be saved from code changes. For instance, if we're projecting that water use is going to go way down because we're retrofitting toilets and sinks and things, or if we have a realistic projection of what that is, or even an understanding of what's actually out in the community right now. So I think moving forward for the city, I think what our goal is, probably before we see the next urban water management plan, is to try to refine those water use projections for the future. I think we have a better understanding of the relationship between land use and water use than we used to, and a lot more tools that the private sector is putting out right now on projecting outdoor irrigation and indoor water use than have been available to the water sector in the past. So I think there is some room for refinement of our projections, most certainly.
Great. Okay, good. We'll look forward to keeping track of that as we go forward, and kind of keep finding that highest and best use of the water resources and thinking regionally. So then this is perhaps more in the water shortage contingency plan, but it's also just that big picture of water conservation. in the contingency plan between monitor and watch, there's a lot of things in the watch column that seem like they would just be good things to do, that are kind of increasing the offers of audits and, you know, those types of things. And I'm wondering, I would imagine that as resources allow, or at what point do you kind of start to go, this trade-off is worth it? You know, we're going to invest a little bit more here, but we're going to have the water savings. And I say that also not just for the water savings and the cost of those savings, but also just thinking about our climate action plan. I love that we have the energy unit in here, and thank you to your team and to our sustainability manager for clarifying that although it's a lot of electricity that uses for conveyance, it's about maybe 1% of our overall energy use as a city. So it's maybe not necessarily impactful, but as we get tighter and tighter and keep thinking about just the importance of water use reduction, how do you kind of balance what's in monitor, what's in watch, but what could be done more proactively that would be cost effective in terms of our overall water use?
Sure. Yeah, I think one thing that I should mention is we are planning, hopefully before the end of this calendar year, an update to our municipal code related to water conservation. And I think some of these things that we see that maybe seem more common sense, we may move, at council's direction to add those into our municipal code where they're standard for our community members. And so I think that could change the types of actions that we call for at different stages. But we're digging into some tools that are put out by industry organizations that help us do an assessment of how effective something like outdoor irrigation restrictions could be, or a water audit program could be. And so the Alliance for Water Efficiency has essentially a conservation monitoring tool that allows you to enter the type of program you have. It helps you estimate the water savings, and then you can enter the cost for that program. And it helps give us kind of a little bit of analysis on if we, one, have the funding to do a program, two, if the program is effective, and how we balance out where we should invest our limited resources for the best results for the community.
All right, those are all my questions. Really terrific documents. I'm really excited about the work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Pease. Councilmember Marks?
Thank you. Well, thank you for this really informative report. And I I wanted to say that I'm really glad that you're including outreach to students, because our students from Cal Poly and Cuesta come from all over the state, all over the country, and all over the world. And they may not understand our particular water situation, that we don't have state water, that water is a very precious resource. So I really appreciate that. And I appreciate eliminating wheeling water outside of the city at the watch stage. My question is about cessation of new connections, which right now is right down here in the critical zone. I'm looking at this. I have your staff report on my other monitor. So at the critical zone, which is fewer than 2.5 years of available water, then we are saying no new connections permitted. Essentially, that would be a moratorium on building because you wouldn't have the permission to serve people with water, which means you can't build. So I'm curious, why is that in the critical instead of up there in the extreme, which is just another half year less? So with this would be 3 years of available water supply left. And
yeah,
I just wonder how that determination was made, and whether it should be bumped up or not. So thank you.
Sure, and Christine may be able to provide me some support on this, but I'll take a stab at it. The reason why we have it in the critical stage is that there are certain government code findings that must be made in order to declare a moratorium. And essentially what those state is that the community at that point must not be able to serve water for basic health and safety needs of the community. And so that more closely aligns with what we're seeing in the critical stage than it would in any of the prior stages. And so that's the reason why we have it in that last stage, is essentially at the same time we're cutting the community's water use through allotment programs and allocation programs and focusing in on just allowing people to essentially use water inside of their homes for basic health and safety needs.
Yes, and Madam Mayor, Councilmember Marks, I would just add to that I think the criticality of that finding around building moratorium is bolstered in recent years by the evolution of housing law, which also includes within that structure, within that legislative structure, requirements that we make some very specific findings about imminent public health and safety needs in order to deny housing projects. And so I think there's some continuing interplay that even escalates the logic behind placing it in that tier. Although if the council majority wanted us to take a closer look and see if we could put it in a different place, we can certainly do that.
Okay, my concern is actually from the construction community point of view, which is at the critical stage, no new connections are permitted, but the entitlements, maybe the project has been approved and it's ready to go, but no new connections means that there's a moratorium on the building. And so I'm just wondering, I mean, we're talking about the difference between 2.5 years and 3 years. And so I'm not certain, is there some kind of metric that that says that you can only make that kind of determination 2.5 years out?
It wouldn't directly reference the number of years left. I think we were trying to draw a parallel to the actions that were expected of the rest of the community that were in alignment with delivering strictly for health and safety use. So the water code leaves it up to the water purveyor to make that assessment. And then obviously it becomes a legal issue at that point if anyone wants to question whether or not you truly were at an amount of water available for basic health and safety needs.
I would also point out that the water shortage.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. Oh. Go ahead.
Sorry about that, Councilmember Marks. I would also just point out that when the water shortage contingency plan is actually created, it contemplates drought, which we are pretty used to, but it also does contemplate those other water shortages. So we can see ourselves move at different times depending upon the scenario through the table as we actually find ourselves, facing, is it a water quality issue or something else. If we do get to that point, though, just drawing on, and I know Councilmember Marks, you'll recall this, in our last drought, when we get to this point, this will not come as a surprise to anyone. We will be in many, many deep conversations with the council and the community, and you will probably get tired of seeing us on a monthly basis where we come back and report on the status of our water at that point. Really, though, when we get down to those last couple of years, our primary goal goes at that point into bumping along in hopes of gathering another solid year of rainfall in our reservoirs. But I would just really like to share with council not only our current water supply and resiliency, but that if we do start to move towards these, we will definitely be back in front of your council on a very regular basis and taking input that would make the most sense strategically at that point in time to ensure that we have water for the community.
Yeah, and I think Councilmember March, you'll recall this process in the past where we've come back and had the discussions about, okay, given the facts on the ground right now, do we have what we need to make findings to start thinking about a moratorium? So there's nothing about this sort of general framework that would preclude us in a particular factual circumstance from taking a closer look and making a different decision to accelerate that because of other factors that we might be able to evaluate more closely in a situation that's, you know, more factually bound than hypothetically bound.
Well, thank you. So these different time frames are they're put out there so that there's some sort of continuity. But if we were in a real emergency, then it's possible that we would not have to stick with the specific time frames. Is that correct?
That's correct. These are guidelines. These are not rigid barriers on actions that we can take given an assessment of a particular set of facts or a particular moment in time in our water allocation history.
Okay, great. I'm not seeing any other of my colleagues' hands or any hands from the public. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak? I'm not seeing any, so.
I'd be happy to move staff recommendation.
Great, thank you, Councilmember Pease. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. City Clerk?
Councilmember Pease?
Yes.
Councilmember Christensen?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stewart?
Yeah, so I just wanted to say thank you for all of this hard work. I'm excited to see the more public involvement or communication involvement going forward with the next budget, and seeing, you know, what kind of rebates and incentives people can have to use less water, of course. Thank you. Yes.
Mayor Harmon?
Yes, and with that, it passes 4-0. Thank you all so much. And now we will move on to council liaison reports. Does anyone have any?
We have to do a second vote on the
sorry,
the water shortage contingency plan, and I'll go ahead and move that.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
I thought that didn't we vote on both of them at the same time?
No.
I thought we said he said we had to do two separate things. Oh, well, maybe I'm wrong.
That's what I thought too.
City Clerk, can you clarify if we need to take a second vote?
I do see two separate resolutions, but as long as the motioner included them both, I think you're good.
Okay, sorry about my confusion. I thought I heard Michael say we had to do two separate votes, so I got confused.
Did you have a liaison report, Councilmember Christensen? No. Okay.
I have one.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, all right. I'm your representative on the Integrated Waste Management Authority Board. And I just have to say the authority is in a somewhat fluid state at this point. The three out of 5 supervisors who sit on the board voted against implementing AB 1383, which is the organic waste ordinance that has come down from the state that we are mandated to implement. The problem with that is that earlier in the last meeting, the same majority was very adamant that we only should be implementing state mandates. So when we had an opportunity to implement a state mandate, they voted against it. It went ahead and passed, but we're in it puts us in a very difficult situation. Actually, I'll back up. We decided to continue it to the next meeting and give Jeff Menery, the legal counsel, a chance to reword the resolution in such a way that perhaps we could get the support of these 3 supervisors. I got elected vice chair of the Integrated Waste Management Authority, despite my valiant effort to say I didn't know enough, I was new and all this stuff, but they didn't pay attention to me. And so they voted me vice mayor. But then at the end of the meeting, after we'd passed the budget for the next year, predicated on the assumption that we had an executive director in place, Brooke Steyer resigned. So there you go. His last day is July 2nd. So I'm on the executive board. We're going to try to pull it all together. This is a very important function, waste management for the entire county. I'm convinced that we will be able to at least muddle through, but we have to revise the budget so that we're looking at an interim director, executive director, as opposed to an ongoing one that was going to be there for at least another year. I will keep you informed, but it's really a mess. So that's my report.
Thank you for that. Councilmember Pease.
Thank you, and thank you, Councilmember Marks, for serving in that important role. Through SLOCOG and LOSAN, we've recently learned that we've been able to secure a funding to do a refresh of our train station that is in badly need of fresh coat of paint and plaster, and the windows are beat up, and so there's a lot of work to do. We have just over $300,000 to get all that done. And if there are folks who are interested in doing some volunteer work to help extend and leverage our funds, please reach out to me, and we'll be putting something together and celebrating trains and making it more welcoming for visitors who come here by train.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Did not see that coming. That's great. Yeah, it is pretty, it's a little sad.
It is. It needs some love.
Yes.
We
Great.
love our trains.
Wonderful. That's exciting. Okay, great. Councilmember, Vice Mayor Stewart.
Thank you. I am the representative on the California Cities Community Services Committee, and we did vote unanimously to support AB 46, the California Youth Empowerment Act, and really trying to connect the governor with youth. I believe it's 12 years old to 25 years old, and really get input in from students, not just people telling him what students want. So that was something that was really exciting, especially when you have students that are coming from foster homes or maybe different situations in their home where they don't feel they have a voice. Really some great opportunities. Also, we voted unanimously on to support SB 50, Senator Limon's early learning and care, and really just trying to help get the state preschool and more information. And then we had a panel presentation on childcare, as well as a panel presentation on homeless. I mean, the whole state, obviously, we are in homelessness solutions conundrums, wanting to help people, and at the same time not having enough resources. Obviously, the governor and our legislature is looking at putting more money in across, statewide, and looking at how we can help make solutions together. The city of Corona happened to have a great blessing of a retired individual from the city of Orange, and they really worked with another company and took that needs assessment and did kind of a combination of what we've done in our city and the county and what a couple of other cities have done, and kind of mix all these together to create this phased living and breathing strategic plan. Obviously, ending homelessness is a dream and a wish, but realistically reducing homelessness and helping people have less amounts of homelessness is what we're going for. So I think we have a lot to learn from Corona, and I'm looking forward to Kelsey Knockett and our community development department and Derek Johnson and all of our regional partners to really work hard on coming together on how we can do better and do more.
Great, thank you so much. Derek, did you want to give a report on tomorrow's 3CE meeting, or is that for Jan? Or
Yeah, I think if Councilmember Marks, I know she's been working with staff. I don't know, Councilmember Marks, if you want to just share with your colleagues, we've got an item, the cost of services study tomorrow that I know staff has been briefing both you and Councilmember Stewart on that item.
Certainly. Well, it's complex, and again, I just started in January, so I'm learning. But the main issue seems to be how much of the profit that 3CE, the Community Choice Aggregate, which our city and county, or not our county, but our city and 5 other counties have joined up with, how much of that money is going to be returned to the community in the form of program funding. And so in the past, it was 4% was what was returned. Then COVID came along, and they actually had some trouble finding viable projects to allocate the money to. Not all of the money, about $10 million of it is still kind of in the kitty. It is program money, but it was not allocated. And so the staff, excuse me, the staff is now proposing that the program percentage be reduced to 3%. However, it be augmented by another 1% from the program fund reserve. And so the Community Advisory Committee, which is basically consists of, I'm on the policy committee. Derek is on the operations committee. Then there's this other committee, which is the Community Advisory Committee. They say, no, that is program money. It should be allocated. Now that COVID is rising up, there's all these needs that really need to be met. And so what program money is used for can be almost anything that has to do with combating climate change and reducing energy, energy costs. It can be electric chargers, can be a variety of different things. Me personally, I'm really in favor of some kind of battery storage, microgrids, that kind of thing, in case PG&E, bless their little hearts, decides that it's too windy, so we're going to shut down all the electricity. If we have these all-electric communities and electric cars, but no electricity, we're just out of luck. And so I think we need to build extra grid resiliency any way that we can. And program money would be available to do that kind of thing. So it's a bit of a struggle at this point, as far as I can tell, from the administration's point of view, which is industrial energy, like bringing in, buying energy in vast amounts from Utah and Nevada, where these big solar farms are. Yeah, but how do you bring that electricity in with the grid? There you are, PG&E again. So it's a bit complex. Derek, have I missed something, or can you add to what I'm trying to say here?
Well, I think Councilmember Marks has done a great job summarizing a really complex issue. This is the
Did you hear what I said?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I apologize. There's a little bit of delay, but I think you've done a great job describing a really complex issue. This is the first time we've really had to confront our cost of services analysis, since we've seen a lot of regulatory shift with the independent or independently owned utilities. And so we're trying to remain competitive and keep within the range of market and also fund programs. So there's a little bit of a balancing act, and I think the staff proposal is hit the right mark. I think the Community Advisory Committee has made a solid recommendation that the program funds should be exercised as soon as possible, rather than sitting idle. I think,
Right.
climate change is not waiting for action. It needs immediate action. And so I think that makes a lot of sense. So tomorrow's hearing should be, I think, somewhat long, but I think that there's been a lot of good work and I think a lot of listening by the staff. And I want to thank Councilmember Marks and Councilmember Stewart for diving into this complex issue. It's taken a lot of work to try to really understand this.
And also we wrote a letter to the chair and the vice chair, which I don't know if the whole council has gotten the letter, but we can certainly email it to them.
We got
just
it.
saying that we support, you got it, great, that we support the institution of the 4% amount to be devoted to program. I mean, there are things happening like Santa Maria, which has now joined 3CE. They don't have any electric chargers down there. Well, guess what? That is a perfect place that program money could be devoted. And they're not going to have a lot of people buying electric cars if they don't have an infrastructure of electric chargers. So, it's this kind of how do I say, the push and pull. But I do have a lot of faith that we will come up with a situation that is good for all of the jurisdictions. I'm really a big supporter of 3CE.
Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you. Great job, Councilmember Marks. It is very difficult, and I also get excited about the opportunity for people that financially don't have the ability to stop, just jump out and buy an electric car. There's some great programs for the system too. And I do have something else altogether, so I don't want to jump off of 3CE if you have anything.
That's okay.
I think we're finished with that item. Go ahead.
Okay, great. I just forgot there's one thing I just wanted to thank Mayor Harmon and the whole council on our legislative action platform that we were able to help support AB 988. It did pass through the assembly. It was to get an attempt to have a mental health number. Instead of calling 911 and having a police come, you would call this 988 number. Who knows if it'll be really 988, and be able to call on someone who is struggling with a mental health issue, an extreme mental health issue, so that you would have mental health workers come first instead, or be able to identify how to help. So obviously this goes to the Senate and we'll see what happens. Hopefully it goes through with flying colors.
Wonderful. Great news. Thank you so much. All right, then with that, we will adjourn. Our next regular city council meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, July 6th at 6 p.m. And it will be our first council meeting back in council chambers in quite some time. So looking forward to seeing all of you live and in person then. And in the meantime, everybody stay well and we'll see you soon. Have a good night.
See you then. Bye.
Bye, all.
Bye, everyone.